Hi there, my name is Lisa Phillips, and I'm the host of a award-nominated podcast called From Now On, a platform supporting survivors. I want to thank all of my survivor sisters who came before me today. I'll be very short. In the year 2000, I was taken to Jeffrey Epstein's island while on a photo shoot on a nearby island. Who I saw and what I experienced there was a glimpse into a very dark and disturbing world. For years after, I tried to avoid Jeffrey, but he had introduced me to Katie Ford, the owner of the Ford Modeling Agency. Epstein's reach went to the very top of fashion, arts, and entertainment. This did not just happen to underage girls in Florida. In New York City, hundreds of young, ambitious women were abused by him. Epstein was not just a serial predator, he was an international human trafficker. And many around him knew, many participated, and many profited. And yet, he was protected. So I stand here today for every woman who has been silenced, exploited, and dismissed. We are not asking for pity. We are here demanding accountability, and I'm demanding justice.
Welcome back to No Bull News Network. I'm your host, Dustin Levine. Epstein survivors urge action on Capitol Hill as GOP leadership faces pressure. A turning point on Capitol Hill. Congress returned from recess this week, but instead of routine debates, lawmakers are facing a storm of pressure over one of the most explosive issues in years, the release of the long-secret Epstein files. Survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse, along with advocates, stormed Capitol Hill, demanding accountability, transparency, and action after decades of silence and redaction. For many, this moment feels like a turning point. Survivors who were once silenced are now using their voices in the halls of power, urging Congress to act where institutions have failed. Survivors speak out. Several women, some stepping forward for the first time publicly, delivered heartbreaking testimony about their experiences as teenagers recruited and abused by Epstein and his associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. One survivor declared, "The days of sweeping this under the rug are over. We the survivors say no more." Another directly challenged GOP leaders and even the president to face the truth, saying this is not a partisan issue, but a human one. Another survivor summed up the demand in one piercing question: why was Jeffrey Epstein so protected? We matter now. The emotional testimonies weren't just personal stories. They were calls for systemic change, aimed directly at lawmakers who survivors say have dragged their feet for too long. Political pressure builds. At the center of the fight is the Epstein Files Transparency Act, a bipartisan bill pushed by Representatives Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna. The measure would force the Department of Justice to release unredacted Epstein files within 30 days. To bypass party leadership, they have launched a discharge petition, an unusual but powerful maneuver that forces a floor vote if enough members sign on. The petition is just a handful of signatures away from success. And while some Republican leaders are calling for patience and caution, survivors and their allies say delay only benefits those who fear the truth coming out. Even within the GOP, cracks are forming. Some high-profile Republican lawmakers have broken with leadership and signed onto the petition, underscoring that this issue transcends party lines. Survivors take action into their own hands. Frustrated by years of secrecy, survivors are now taking matters into their own hands. In addition to lobbying Congress, they have announced plans to release their own compiled list of Epstein associates. Their message is clear. If the government refuses to deliver transparency, they will. They also pushed back against claims that releasing unredacted files could harm victims. Survivors insist the opposite is true, that secrecy has only protected abusers and denied healing. Why this matters? This fight over the Epstein files is about more than just documents. It is about accountability. Powerful individuals have avoided scrutiny for years. Survivors say the time for hiding is over. Survivor empowerment. For too long, survivors have been sidelined. Now they are demanding justice on their terms. Political integrity. Lawmakers face a choice: protect the system or stand with truth and healing. Final thoughts. What happened on Capitol Hill this week was more than politics. It was a reckoning. Survivors who endured unspeakable abuse are now at the center of one of the most urgent fights in Washington. Their bravery is forcing Congress to confront uncomfortable truths, and the pressure is only mounting. If the discharge petition succeeds, America could finally see the full scope of Epstein's network exposed in daylight. Until then, survivors are not backing down. Their message is simple and powerful. No more secrets, no more delays, no more protection for predators.
Hello, my name is Shantae Davies, and I'm here before you today as a survivor of decades of pain, trauma, and betrayal at the hands of Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, and the people who enabled them, and a government that for far too long refused to help. In 2002, I was living in California, a young woman with high aspirations of becoming an actress. I was already beginning to make a name for myself in the industry. A person I trusted, someone I thought was a friend, invited me to meet a powerful woman who could help advance my career. That woman happened to be Ghislaine Maxwell. I was asked to give her a massage, though I had almost no experience, and when I did, she praised me and promised introductions to someone enormously powerful, someone who could change the course of my life, and that man was Jeffrey Epstein. At first, I was an excited young woman on top of the world. Epstein flew me to his private island. He listened to my dreams, promised to help, but his promises came with a catch. The abuse began. He told me to keep it secret. He manipulated me with quid pro quo I did not consent to, but I felt I had no one to turn to. He was too powerful. I was just one of the many young women trapped in his orbit. I was even taken on a trip to Africa with former President Bill Clinton and other notable figures. In those moments, I realized how powerless I was. If I spoke out, who would believe me? Who would protect me? Epstein himself was the most powerful leader of our country. Epstein surrounded himself, with the most powerful leaders of our country and the world. He abused not only me, but countless others, and everyone seemed to look away. The truth is, Epstein had a free pass. He bragged about his powerful friends, including our current president, Donald Trump. It was his biggest brag, actually. And while what I endured will haunt me forever, I live every day with PTSD. I live as a mother trying to raise my child while distrusting a world that has betrayed me. This kind of trauma never leaves you. It breaks families apart. It shapes the way we see everyone around us. But one thing is certain, unless we learn from this history, monsters like Epstein will rise again. There are files, government files, that hold the truth about Epstein, who he knew, who owed him, who protected him, and why he was allowed to operate for so long without consequence. Why was Maxwell the only one held accountable when so many others played a role? Why does the government hide this information from the public? This secrecy is not protection, it's complicity. And as long as the truth is buried, justice will remain out of reach. That is why this bill matters. Passing it will, bless you, ensure that the suffering of survivors is not in vain. Passing it will bring accountability, transparency, and prevention. It will help protect the next generation of predators who seek to place themselves above the law through wealth, influence, and connections. This is not just my story. It is about every survivor who carries invisible scars. It's about the weight we live with daily. It is about the families broken and the futures stolen. So I ask you, President Trump and members of Congress, why do we continue to cover up sexual abuse and assault? Who are we covering for? Let the public know the truth. We cannot heal without justice. We cannot protect the future if we refuse to confront the past. Thank you.
Go, go, go.